Obviously, really disappointed the last couple weeks. You know, not just in the outcome, but in how we lost those games. But my message to the team is we're not where we had expected to be. We haven't played to our standard. We haven't coached to our standard. But none of that matters this week, because this week we owe it to our senior class, who has done so much for this program since we got here. I know, to put us in a position to be successful moving forward. And you know, there's nobody in that locker room that should not feel a debt of gratitude towards them, and want to be able to repay that by making their senior day really, really memorable. So, you know, obviously short week, really difficult on the coaches and players. We did not practice yesterday. As you know, we normally have light practice on Sundays. We just met, watched the film from the previous game, and tried, 30 minutes of just kind of an intro on what we knew as coaches. And then, with us practicing today, last night was a long night for the coaching staff, just trying to formulate a game plan, as well as early this morning, so that we could have a good practice this afternoon and have a semblance of at least our first and second down game plan to go against Texas Tech. Injury update. Jawan Mitchell aggravated a hamstring issue he's been dealing with during pregame. Anthony Cook is still going to be out. Obviously, Cade Brewer is still out, but he is recovering. Should have him back for the bowl game. Sam Cosme sprained his ankle, so he'll be very limited today. Devin Duvernay had a contusion on his knee that really swelled up, so he's going to be limited today. Jalen Green had an ankle sprain. He's going to be questionable. Keontae Ingram is improving from his ankle sprain. Colin Johnson is probably bowl game. DeMarvion Overshawn, another ankle sprain that we're hoping will improve throughout the course of the week. He is, he'll be limited today. Jordan Whittington, we re-MRI'd his pelvic area. There's no abnormalities as far as anything unrelated to the pubalgia. We've sent those pictures off to the doctor in Philadelphia and waiting for him to evaluate him. The last time we did it, obviously he said, that everything looked great and cleared him to play. But Jay Witch, he's been in a lot of pain, so we got to figure out what's going on with him. Questions?
Raise your hand if you have a question. Get a mic to you. Start in the middle with Ed.
Coach, how's your head, and do you regret doing that because it's gotten a lot of national attention? But how is your head feeling? Because I see a little red spot on there.
No, my head is fine. If the nation had been paying attention, they would have realized I did that my 3 years at Ohio State, 2 years every game at Houston. So that was nothing new for me. I just, again, like I said, post game, in my old age, I had kind of gotten away from it, but I was pretty pumped up about the game, and I know our guys were too, and just kind of spur of the moment hit me. But it's nothing. Nothing that, I don't know how many games that is, 3 years at Ohio State and 2 at Houston. It's been happening quite a bit.
Up front on the left. Brian.
Tom, I don't expect you to tell us everything that was said in a staff meeting, but I was hoping, Walk us through why you feel the offense has gradually lost its effectiveness last month.
Yeah, I in the staff meeting, I did say, these are kids that are good kids, and they're going to want answers. And in my opinion, when you play such a unique defense back-to-back weeks, there is a fine line of saying, hey, we've got to, some of our base stuff is not going to be good, right? And you say we can't do X, Y, and Z because they're going to be in position A, B, and C. And so you say, okay, well, then we need to do D, E, and F. And I think when you veer to, again, there's got to be some of that. There has to be, or else you're not going to move the ball. But there's got to be a fine line to where it becomes too much that you can't get taught in the course of a week. And obviously we did we thought the plan was great. I mean, we asked, I remember asking Sam, he's like, Coach, I love it. It's great. I feel better about it than Iowa State. And, we didn't do a good enough job as coaches of getting that plan executed. And, so I think we have not done a good job as a staff of walking that line of making adjustments based on, the uniqueness of that defensive structure, but still being able to execute at a very high level.
In the middle, Bob?
You mentioned that 80-10-10 after the game on Sunday, and when you look at that 10% of the negative side of that 10%, what do you have to do over the next month to make sure that number doesn't balloon and become anything bigger than that in your locker? How do you keep everybody?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, because of the middle 80 can kind of gravitate towards one or the other, and so we've got to rely on the top 10 to go grab those guys that maybe trying to dip their toe, if you will, into the defiant and disinterested crew, and make sure they pull them back out of that. So I think that's the biggest thing, and again, relationships. I mean, just making sure that that these guys understand that we want what's best for them. We're trying to win for them, and we're on their side.
Okay, front, one more.
Coach, I have two questions for you. You want me to throw them both to you at once or one
Sure.
by one?
Yeah.
The first, the question is about, like, the play calling. I know you have a say-so within the play calling, but in previous ventures, I think you called mostly up in the press box. So I was wondering if you can kind of walk me through this collaborative effort on how it goes from back down to you, and then how you guys figure that out, and then what kind of audible can Sam run within that?
Well, a lot of them are we do more than any other year. We put some on Sam, and he's handled it really, really well. I mean, he's super sharp. In today's day and age, it used to be you could, line up in a formation, look back to the sideline, see what they were in, and call a play, and the defense wouldn't move. Nowadays, they're checking when we check, this, that, and the other. So a lot of especially pressure checks versus blitz, have to come from the quarterback, or else they're just going to check out of that. So we give him some pressure checks all year. He's done a great job with. And then a lot of the communication is, again, pre-snap, what are they in? Is it maybe a look-back play where we've got to give Sam some information, and the press box has much better view of that, obviously, than I do. And then in between series, there's talk of, okay, this is working because of this, let's do this more. and then you kind of have a mini script, if you will, for then the next series and the next series, and then obviously, third down throws a wrench into that, especially when you're not efficient on first and second down, and it's third and long versus a drop 8 team, especially. So that's kind of the dynamics. I think hopefully you were hoping
Sure,
for.
and then you have the final say so, correct, on the play that's being called?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that, Coach, you guys have really recruited at a high level here for the past few years, but they've had some issues this year. Do you feel like the staff has done a good enough job of developing that high-level talent that you guys have been able to bring in?
No. We haven't. I haven't. Everybody, the players haven't. We're all in this together. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with me. So that is a big charge of mine in the off season, is to find a way to get these guys better developed and put them in better positions to succeed. And also then comes the part where the players got to decide, that I want to take the steps that are necessary to be developed.
Over here on your left, Danny.
Tom, how much is the short week going to mess with your guys' schedule as far as practices are concerned? And are the players going to be allowed to go home for Thanksgiving, or are you guys just going to be doing it, as a group, or the players that could get home for Thanksgiving?
Right. So, yeah, it's a big hindrance, in terms of what I mentioned earlier, the fact that, we're having a game plan into the wee hours of a Sunday night after just getting back from a road game, and then Monday morning, and then, the kids having to practice on a Monday, which is a big change in routine because it's a huge class day. In fact, we'll have some players miss practice today because of class conflicts. And then, Tuesday will be like a normal Wednesday practice. Then we'll wake up Wednesday morning. We'll practice Wednesday morning like a Thursday. And then the kids will be free to go home, whatever, until Thursday morning, late morning. They'll report back. We'll have our family Fridays on Thanksgiving Day. And then one thing that I'm really proud of that we do here, and we did it at Houston too, the travel squad players that'll be in the hotel on Thursday night, we invite all of their families to have dinner with us. So we have a true family dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, in the hotel with the travel squad. In years past, hundreds of family members it's probably, over 100 family members have joined us in that. And then they'll all kind of say goodbye to their families on Thursday night, and then we'll resume our normal family Friday schedule after that. But I think the kids and the families really, really appreciate us allowing them to at least have some semblance of a Thanksgiving meal with their son. And then the travel squad guys, non-travel squad guys, I should say, the guys that won't be going to the hotel, they have the option Wednesday right after practice. They can go home, not be back till Sunday, or they can come back for the game Friday if they choose.
Stand to your left, Kayla.
Coach, I want to ask, what is it like, stepping into a program and, trying to win over players who were recruited under a previous regime? What is that like for you?
Well, we're past that. I think the scene. We've got one class left that were recruited from a previous regime, and for the most part, they're bought in. 5 of our captains. We've got a small senior class. I think if you include Parker Braun, I think it's still only 10 scholarship guys, something like that. And to say that 5 of them are captains, and all the other ones are completely bought in. So that process was years ago.
On your right, Cedric.
I know, Tom, I know this is one of the toughest stretches you've gone through as head coach. All coaches have mentors. who's your mentor and who's your Mr. Miyagi, and have you reached out to him?
Coach Brown, certainly, just because he knows this place. Coach Davis, I think having Larry Fedora in the building every day has been really beneficial for me. So those are the ones that, my wife, the circle is small, I can tell you that. But no, they've been good helps along the way. We've played phone tag. I'm planning on hopefully getting a hold of them today.
On your left over here, Chip.
Tom, you're a tough-minded guy. I think you tell the kids in recruiting, I'm not, going to be your friend. I'm going to try to coach you to be the best football player you can be.
I don't, but that's okay. You can think that.
Well, yeah, correct anything that, any of these characteristics, please feel free to correct. But as a, sometimes bad cop, head coach, how, have you done a good enough job of showing the players how much you care? Because they always talk about you can coach the hell out of them as long as they know you care. And who are the guys on your staff that maybe are the guys who the players can go to when they feel like you're, breathing fire on them? And because you got to have the guys that your lieutenants who the players can feel comfortable talking to.
Yeah, my job is to protect the culture, not feelings. But I do think, again, this comes up anytime you're not experiencing the success that you want. The vocal minority gets a lot of the attention. Go ask Sam Ellinger if he thinks I'm bad cop, or Colin Johnson, or Devin Duvernay, or Malcolm Roach, or Joseph Osai, or Keontae Ingram. The list goes on and on of guys that know and understand how much I care about each and every one of our players. And it's important to me because, as I've said many times, the best way that I describe the one word I think that's so critical to understanding our program is parental. We are going to shower them with unconditional love. And we're going to be there in times of need. We're going to provide them with every tool and resource there is to be successful. But we're also, much like a parent should, I hope, you see less and less of it these days, but we're going to hold them to a very high standard. And when that standard's not met, we're going to A, hold them accountable, and B, teach them, like a good parent, how to not make that mistake again. So, I don't know what your relationship with your dad was when you were a teenager, but or other people with their parents when they were teenagers. But my mom was not my friend. My mom was my mom, and I think that as coaches, maybe that's where that gets misconstrued a little bit. Our job is to be parental, and with that comes a lot of love, sometimes tough love too. And they've for the most part have been very receptive to that love. But we certainly, again, holding people to a standard that's set, to me, is not playing bad cop. That's my job. And it doesn't mean when I hold someone accountable for something that they are doing that is going against the things that we believe in as a program, that I don't love them. I think the youth today gets that a little bit confused. Well, you know, Coach Herman scolded me, so how can he tell me he loves me? Right? I mean, I don't know about your parents, but my mom scolded me plenty of times, and I never once doubted her love for me. And so that's probably the best way that I can describe it. I hope that sinks in, but you know, I would just caution anyone that believes that, you know, the vocal minority somehow happens to be the voice of the team, because it's not. And you know, you and I have had a few discussions about this before, and you know, there's a lot of guys in there that would do anything for this program, for myself as the head coach, for their position coach, because yeah, those lieutenants, the assistant coaches, the Kevin Washingtons of the world, Yancey McKnight, we've all got to have great relationships with them for this to succeed.
Brian?
I actually want to build off Anwar's question. So do you feel like that you and the staff and the whole support staff collectively, y'all have not squeezed enough talent out of 2 top 5 recruiting classes? The first class was ranked 25th. Whatever, that y'all should be squeezing more out of this group collectively.
Yes.
And at the same time, though, it's a fine line to walk. The coaches are responsible for it, but the players have to be responsible too.
Correct.
So how do you manage that?
You evaluate, and you know, again, we've got a saying around here, and I learned it from Coach Meyer, and it was great. It stuck with me, and it made a lot of sense, because I've been on staffs where position coaches, you know, aren't getting the response from a player that they want, and they say, "Oh, that friggin' kid, that kid." No, that coach. You're the adult. You're the one that does this for a living, and so we're never going to blame the players. So it's our job. We recruited them and their personalities, and so it's our job to find the right buttons to push, if you will. If a young man, if you're giving them these tools and the young man is not using those tools, then it's still your job to then educate them on why it's important to use those tools. And so there's so many ways that that you can work it, but there is a definite fine line between, you know, leading a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I don't know. Then duck his head in the water, or lead him to a different trough, or figure something else out. You know, we've got to figure out this off season where we failed in that area, and make sure that doesn't happen again.
Stay in the middle, Roger.
Tom, I know the goals change weekly, and now, as much as you didn't want this to be the case, it's for a winning record in the regular season. On the flip side, Tech can't get to a bowl, so maybe they come in not tight, trying to get to a bowl loose. And what are the challenges, kind of both of those aspects?
I don't know that we'll be tight. You know, I think, yeah, I would imagine they'll be loose. I mean, at Texas, regardless of your record, we're going to get everybody's best shot. You know, I heard Coach Rule's post-game press conference, you know, and their linebacker had surgery on his hand on Monday and was practicing on Tuesday, you know, and a couple other key members of their team, you know, early in the week, the trainers were like, there's no way this kid's going to play, and they found ways to play, which is a credit to him and his staff and his players and their fortitude. So we know that we're going to get Texas Tech's best shot, and we know they're going to be loose. And so I think the biggest motivation is not a winning record. We're already going to a bowl game, the whole nine. I think it's got to be the people. It's got to be those seniors, and you know, really paying tribute in a way to, you know, what they have truly meant to the foundation that has been set here.
Tom, at 6-5, how shaken are you, and why are you still the right man for this job?
I'm not shaken. No. I'm obviously in big time evaluation mode of everything throughout our program, and you know, I'm not going to bury my head in the sand. It's my job to make sure that you know, we play to the level that is expected at the University of Texas. And am I the right man to do it? I believe I am. Yeah. I mean, you're asking me. I don't know if. Did you expect me to say no? I'm not, and then just walk off and drop the mic or something? I mean.
You've never gone through anything quite like this in your career, have you?
The first year here, that was pretty tough. That was pretty tough.
Got time for two last ones, Joe and then Anthony in the back.
Whenever something happens to Junior, what's the rationale behind moving Derek inside your starting right tackle to right guard and bringing in Denzel instead of maybe keeping Derek at right tackle and bringing somebody else in at right guard?
Just because of the reps. Derek is much more capable mentally and from a skill set level to play. You know, he's kind of our Swiss Army knife. You know, he's our backup center too. So it's to get the best six on the field, and Denzel's skill set. We tried Denzel at guard. Saw him at training camp. He can do it, but he has just proven over the course of time that he's better. That's a better option, just because we've tried it the other way, and this way seems to be the better option in terms of production.
Last one in the back.
I got three, Coach. The senior class, it's such a small group, but how did they leave an impression on you? And for such a small group, I'm guessing you admire them tremendously.
Yes. Well, they stayed when we got here, and they were young, and they bought in. A couple took a little bit longer than others, but for the most part, this crew, when you say jump, they ask how high. They don't want to know, well, why am I jumping? Well, wait, jump where? Jump what? You know, they don't ask questions. They're unbelievable soldiers for the program, and so, I mean, we will forever be indebted to them because of their and their development. You know, you look at, and I know Colin has been hurt most of the season, but you look at him as a true sophomore to where the level he was playing at towards the end of last year, and then this year, and Devin Duvernay, you know, and Zach Shackelford. I mean, the list goes on of these seniors that have really, really developed in our 3 years here, not just from a skill set standpoint, but emotionally and from a leadership standpoint.
And then happy Thanksgiving, Coach. What are you thankful for, and do you have a favorite Thanksgiving food that you like?
I am extremely thankful for the health of my family, my wife and 3 kids. I'm thankful for this team and for their fortitude. I'm thankful that, you know, I look at, I think I said it post game, and you know, when the game was, for all intents and purposes, over, and to play as hard as our defense did on 4th down to get that stop, and then to jog our starters out there with 43 seconds left, and still want to go score, you know, that told me a lot about this team, and to be thankful for that fortitude and grittiness. And then, I'm thankful for the people in my life that that are honest with me and that love me. Family and friends that are there for me. And my favorite food. When I was a kid, my grandma and her sisters and brothers, they used to make, we used to have raviolis on Thanksgiving. I think they still do. And it was literally hand-stuffed, crimped down raviolis that I think, they spent a whole week, folding these raviolis and homemade sauce and all that stuff. So I haven't had that in a while because I hadn't been back to Cincinnati for Thanksgiving in quite some time. But growing up, man, I looked forward to those raviolis like nobody's business.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.